So I just said fascia and muscle cannot be separated. Explain to me why.
Okay, because, well, firstly, obviously the fascia connects every single muscle, so it wraps it, and it wraps the individual muscles. So, for example, if you look at the leg fascia, okay, if you were to cut it right through the middle, if you did a cross section like this, you would see, I have cool pictures I could show you, where it looks like you have meat and then the white stuff. So the white stuff segments the meat, and then you have the muscle coming through. So I always love the cross-section diagrams, actually, because they really show you how something like if you cut a leg straight in half, you would see the white stuff everywhere, and it segments the individual muscles. So the hamstring, you know, for example, has its two main muscle groups, but the fascia separates them. So that's one aspect. The other thing, of course, is it keeps the slide and glide, because the muscle is useless without its fascia. So for the fascia, when it's healthy, it allows the slide and glide and works really, really well. It's so interesting. It's like when people, if we talk about the hamstring, when you have squash players who are actually runners, the most common injury in a squash player is a hamstring pull. And often they've been runners like a lot of their lives, and they're not playing squash enough. So a hamstring needs to work individually for a sport like surfing, squash, tennis, anything that balances, because they work separately. When you run and cycle, the hamstring works like this, and it actually gets stuck. It gets stuck as you get older. So we start to dry out like beef jerky in our fascia. And we can feel that as a therapist. You can feel it. It's gristly and it's sticky and it's old and it's just ugh. And that's when it's prone to injury, actually, because there's not good slide and glide like a child or a puppy. You know, it's all like fluid. So the fluidity dries up with lack of movement, or, for example, if you haven't used muscles individually, and then they're very prone to injury, and you have that restricted movement. So,
yeah. So how does the tremor mechanism affect either of those, the fascia or the muscle?
okay, so what the tremoring does is, because it's giving a vibration, and fascia also has its own vibration. That's what on the workshops, what we've seen a lot. We're working with that electricity and that vibration. We can literally feel it under our hands. It's been the most amazing thing. And it starts to regenerate. It's like it vibrates, and that seems to bring back the fluidity. And I think this is why people who practice TRE suddenly feel they have movement back. So it definitely regenerates this fluidity on some level. That's the one aspect. The other aspect is, most definitely, it tries to regenerate injuries. It goes to a site of injury like we've seen with TRE, but I believe it's definitely the fascia. So it will vibrate an old injury and try and get back to the healing mechanism and try and repair itself. This is very cool with fresh injuries. So I've had young guys straight off a rugby field. I've had a lot of fun with them. At one stage, I had about 5 young boys, like 17 years old, who had come to me for treatment, and they'd had tremoring, so they knew what was going on. And then I had set up a tent on the edge of the rugby field, and eventually I had about 12 boys in there tremoring their injuries. And it was fascinating because their whole body would be still, but just the place of injury would tremor. So it was fresh. And I do think, obviously, it's a full body repair of the cells that on site, but because the fascia are the very cells that are the healing mechanism of anything, they are the ones that create scar tissue. See, we never thought of it like that. We always thought, oh, we learned about fibroblasts, and we learned that they knit tissue. But that was all we learned. We never learned also the major repercussions of that, because the fascia links trains of muscles together. So you could have a knee injury on the right, but when you're tremoring, you could be tremoring right through the left arm because it's a sling. So it is quite fascinating, but the body's most definitely trying to repair itself, and I believe that's more in the fascia than in, definitely more than in muscle, definitely.